Hey guys, King of Charms here to be a judge, a jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you Toxapex. Again, so this is going to be the difference between Toxapex with Muddy Water versus BRINE. So was it really nerfed? Is it still meta as heck? Well, long story short, yes. In one specific shield scenario, but, well, not in one specific shield scenario, but you'll see in this analysis, it actually is nuts at how even just putting BRINE, how it didn't really affect Toxapex too much. So this is going to be a little quick skim through of why you should still go after Toxapex, because Toxapex is out in the wild right now, and I'm definitely going to go walk, grind, and get my miles in so that I can get a good one for PvP. And y'all should too, if you can. But it's still really good for PvP, and you're going to see them running around in Open Great League a lot. But before we get started, it's going to be my therapist mental health tip of the day. As usual, you could skip this by running 2 minutes ahead, or you could go to chapters and skip straight ahead to the analysis. I always have to say this every video, just in case people aren't aware that's a thing. There's a reason I put chapters in here. But, because we're talking about Toxapex, we're talking about poison typings. These are 8 mental health trends to watch in 2022. Take a look at this article from Psych Central, and what I like about Psych Central is all of their articles are reviewed by mental health professionals. In this one, it was literally just written this year. So, one of them is the one I really want to key into is number 4, setting healthy boundaries with social media. So you can take a look at all of these, but these are like the trends to watch out for. There's something called doom scrolling, or basically people that screw, like you see something that's bad and you just keep scrolling down. But make sure you set a healthy boundary for social media. You probably see Pokemon Go Twitter, PvP Twitter is just a slew of toxicity. You probably shouldn't see it. And just in general, whether it's good or bad, you should limit it as well. If you have a smartphone, you're probably worried limiting your screen time can be a challenge. Not to mention spending too long online can effectively negatively affect your well-being, whether you're looking at good things or not. So even if it is or not, it's still, mental health professionals still recommend you limit screen time, unfollow people you don't like, and don't read comments. But yes. So, make sure you take a look at this article. It's really good, but yes, these are definitely 8 trends to watch out for 2022, and we're almost into 2023, so there'll be more mental health trends. But yes, social media definitely set a boundary. And without further ado, this is Toxapex, Muddy Water versus BRINE. Which one's better? Which one's worse? Was it really that bad? I already told you it's not that much, but without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so first off we got the 2 shields. So I just did BRINE and I did Muddy Water. This is going to be a really easy comparison. I'm not going to go into bite or anything like that. We just want to take a look what happens with BRINE versus Muddy Water. Now with Muddy Water, if you watched my last video, it was really baity. So now with BRINE, you have a solid water attack. That's actually worse than Aerial Ace statistically, but you know what? Does it do just as well or does it do better? Let's find out. So I did a little bit of digging, and as you see here, without Muddy Water, you actually are able to, without Muddy Water, you lose Altaria, you lose Bastion, you lose Renergus, and you lose Talonflame. But as you see here, you can still beat a whole variety of things. So even with BRINE, you can still be Araquanid, you still hardwall Azu to oblivion. Toxapex is the hardest wall to Azu overall, so when you see Worlds or Regionals, you're probably going to see a lot less Azus if you see more Toxapex in Open Great League teams. Like I mentioned, you lose the Bastion matchup, you had to debuff the unholy crap out of poor Basti anyways. As you see here, you need a minimum of 2 debuffs at least within the first 3, otherwise you will lose within 1 turn, so. But despite this fact, Bastion will take you down. So if you look over here, Bastion lives with a comfortable 46 HP. That's not entirely bad. What you can do is that you can let Toxapex, you could sack Toxapex in a league and essentially farm down Bastion if you have a fighter in the back. So if you have a fighter, yeah, you can just literally beat the unholy crap out of Bastion, come out with energy and the 0 shield. So it's not that bad. With Deoxys defense, you still able to beat Deoxys defense. You beat Cresselia. You still beat a whole variety of things like Drapion, Lantern, Mandibuzz. Alolan Marowak, Medicham, we already talked about Azu. You beat pretty much all the fairies. You also beat Obstagoon. So Obstagoon lost with Muddy Water, but as you see here, even you still live with a comfortable 32 HP. Going Brine, and then you need a Sludge Wave, but you could still beat in a 2-shield. You can beat Scrafty, you beat Fighters, you beat Charmers, you break the Walrein Trevcore with this thing. So as you see here with the Walrein Trevcore, you could just, yeah, it's kind of bait dependent, kind of, but as you see here, if you're able to bait, even if you just go straight Sludge Wave, you could win it. But even if you go straight Sludge Wave, you could, as you see here, it's not a bad matchup. However, Walrein does come out with a ton of energy, so you might not want to go straight Sludge Wave. So try to bait, and if you can't, it kind of sucks, but Walrein is able to give you a hard time just because of access to Earthquake. So, but with Trevenant, you have a great time. Well, actually not a great time as well, because just like with Walrein, it's very baity. Well, you could actually go straight Brine. So as you see, straight Brine actually kills Trevenant just because you're so dang bulky. So that's given, even if they Shadow Ball through shields, they have to land another one in order to KO you, as you see. So you could actually go straight Brine against Trevenant. So with Walrein being around less, it might be good. I don't know. But you probably saw a lesser use of Walrein in Great League just because of the fact that Walrein was nerfed by like 5 energy. Which honestly isn't that much. You probably still have seen Open Great League. That's how good it is still. But yeah, as you see, Toxapex only loses 23-16, so it's not even that bad. Against key meta matchups, Toxapex does still incredibly well, taking out Fighters, Charmers, and of course Walrein Trev. Yeah, you have to bait the unholy crap out of poor Walrein, but still being able to beat it, that's a good thing. Alright, so we did the 2-shield, now here's the 1-shield. So don't get too giddy with the 1-shield, at least when it comes to the Altaria matchup, because with the Altaria matchup, if you have even just a little bit of chip damage, guess what? You can't sludge away your way to victory. But what makes Toxapex shine even without Muddy Water, yeah, you lose Drapion, etc. But if you look overall, you still beat a whole slew of matchups. Now, this is given that you are locked into the 1-shield. I hate it when people are like, I win the 1-shield with this, and your opponent can switch out. Guess what? You don't win the 1-shield anymore because they're up against something else. So, Toxapex in 1-shield is able to beat a whole variety of things. Of course, you still hardwater Zoomer. Like I mentioned, you can beat Altaria straight Sludge Wave, giving you don't have chip damage, but it can comfortably beat Araquanid, Deoxys Defense, Lantern, Lickitung, Mandibuzz, Alolan Marowak, Medicham, Alolan, all the Charmers, some of the Flyers, even things like Obstagoon, Scrafty, other fighters, just because you resist. And a lot of other really good meta picks. So it's very, as in Umbreon, you beat the Walrein Trevcore convincingly in the 1-shield. In the 1-shield you can, as you see here, you can even live an entire Earthquake at 64 damage. It's not 69, sadly, not the perfect number, but it can go ahead, it can literally win out. It can win, that's how thick it is. Unfortunately, it still can't tank Mud Bombs from Toxicroak. It still hates G-Fist as well as every other steel type like Skarmory, etc. But when Toxapex comes out, expect to see a lot more Skarmory too. So Sableye, because Purified Sableye will beat Toxapex in all shield scenarios. Because it resists Sludge Wave, you can only Brine, and sadly Brine doesn't do enough damage to really threaten freaking Sableye. That's just how good Sableye is. So with Toxapex being gone, expect to see more Sableye. But at the same time, Toxapex also beats all the Charmers. So you might see more Charmers come out. So that's where Toxapex, you see where this triangle of death kind of happens? Where it's just like, kind of like, it's fun that this thing's coming out, but expect the meta to flip again just because of this thing's existence and everybody wanting to use it, or anti-meta teams, or anti-Toxapex teams to be exact. But in the 1-shield, it's still really freaking solid. So, Toxapex, supported by 2 members that do very well against its weaknesses, mainly the steel typings, and Swampert will do very well for you in Open Great League. Alright, so if you've noticed here, I put the 0 shield already, but if you take a look at the zeros, there's absolutely no differences. Yes, there's nothing that Muddy Water would have given you if you had Brine. So even though Niantic really tried to make this thing, like, nerf it, you barely nerfed it. Like, barely. Yeah, Muddy Water could be supremely annoying and cause a lot of debuff plays, but you know what? Brine is still as good, as you see no differences in the zeros. In the zero shield, you still beat a Rakuen, a Zoomer, a Cresselia, Drapion. You normally would lose this in the ones, but you can win in the zeros, just because of Brine. You still beat Lickitung, Mandibuzz, Alolan, Marowak. You do lose against some fighters like Medicham just because Psychic hits you for super effective damage, and because you get Earth Power to death by Shadow Nidoqueen. So Steel and Ground typing still love you. We already talked about Sableye, you hate to see it. But you beat Scrafty, you beat Talonflame, Toxicroak, Trevenant, Umbreon, Venusaur, Shadow Victory Bell. That's always nice when you can kill this thing. Always really nice. Vigoroth, Walreins, and as you see, there's no difference. The average doesn't change out on the zeros. So in the zero and the ones, Toxapex is still able to do work. In the two shields is where you see the major difference. But like I said, in the two shield, it's very baity. So Toxapex is still really freaking amazing. So yeah, it's really insane at how even though they tried to change it, it's still in the zero, still does really good. So whoever tried to change this and try to be like, I'm so smart, you aren't that smart. If you really wanted to nerf this thing, it's a crappy water. What's a super crappy water move that no one, well actually Brine is already a super crappy water move. Believe it or not, Brine is actually worse than Aerial Ace. Overall, it is. But yes, so yeah, in the zeros, it's still just as good as its Muddy Water counterpart, being able to beat everything you're supposed to generally beat. At least at full HP. If there's some chip damage, then whoever has energy lead, etc. will take that matchup. And that's game! I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I try to make this as sweet and as fast as possible, but as you see here, outside of the two shield, the ones and the zeros are pretty solid for Toxapex. In the two shield, that's where it changed a lot because debuffs, there was a lot of debuff magic you could do with Muddy Water, and not gonna lie, 30% is still a lot. It's more than the boost, but Muddy Water would have created a lot of debuff shenanigans, and Brine did nerf it in the twos, but in the ones and the zeros, it's still really freaking good. And because it's so godforsakenly tanky, it's still going to flip the meta outside of its head once it comes out. You're going to see a lot less Charmers, well, unless you could still see Charmers, but when Toxapex goes away and there's more Steel types, guess what goes away? Charmers. So you won't see that many Charmers, at least in Open Great League. If you do, they're really crazy because you're going to see so many Toxapexes running around. You thought Bastion was popular? Actually, funny story, Bastion can still be very popular because with Toxapex in the two shield, you actually lose against Bastion because Brine wasn't give you the stopping power that Muddy Water does because you can debuff Bastion. And even then, the matchup was still really close. So this is Water Bastion 2.0. So that's basically what it is. But it's still really good. So definitely go out and grab one. If you really want to be competitive for PvP, this is definitely necessary in your arsenal. And yeah, it's spawning. It actually has a decent spawn rate. So like I mentioned, I'm going to go walk a few hours and get a few good ones. But we'll take a look and see what I can grab. But I really do appreciate y'all. Do me a huge favor. Please like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. I'll be doing Master Premier Classic and Evolution Cup content when those cups come out. But for now, Ultimate Master League and Ultra Premier Classic are extremely stale. So yes, I'm going to definitely focus a lot on Master Premier Classic once it comes out. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets. I stream on Twitch Friday through Sunday, so I'll see you on there in the mornings. I have the times listed on the description, but I really do appreciate y'all's support. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see y'all on the next video.
That I made